What's up, everybody? I'm Jeffrey Hessler. Welcome back to my channel, Jeff Hess CFB, aka Jeff Hess on college football. If you're new to the channel, please check out some of my other videos, all college football related. Last video, we talked about the Oklahoma Sooners, why they could be a dark horse for the college football playoff, how they looked in their spring game. And today, we're going to be talking about something that happened last night that is remarkable for Ohio State and Brian Hartline. Recruiting pitch, amazing here. Before I get into that, go check out SmoothLiesPodcast. I'm going to leave the link in the description. We did a full mock draft of the first round. I gave some sleepers that could be falling today. Today is Friday, the second round of the draft. So make sure you guys go check that out. Check out their channel. Leave a like on that. Subscribe to their channel. Great content. Great guys. We had a good time. Good conversation. So with that being said, let's hop right into it, man. So last night, we seen the New York Jets go out and get Garret Wilson. Right after that, Saints trade up, get Chris Olave. And, you know, it's a pretty big deal if you're an Ohio State fan, you know. Then right behind them goes Jamison Williams. And if you're familiar with Ohio State, those three guys played on the same team. Those three guys caught passes from Justin Fields in a college football playoff. Those three guys were at Ohio State for 3 years at the same time, okay? Now, Jamison Williams did transfer to Alabama, had a great season, ultimately what really put him over the top for first-round pick. But the point of this video, what we're going to be talking about today is, can Ohio State have a conversation for wide receiver U? And I think they have a serious conversation for it, okay? So like I said, you had Garret Wilson, you had Chris Olave, back-to-back first-round receivers. Recruiting pitch right there, amazing. So you have Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis, two top receivers in the recruiting class. They were even talking about it on Twitter last night, adding each other on Twitter. If you don't know what that means, it's where you tag somebody, you know. Well, like I said, amazing recruiting pitch. You got guys like Michael Thomas. You got guys like Terry McLaurin. You got guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba who don't even have to play a season this year, and he's a first-round pick. You got guys like Curtis Samuel, who's had an up-and-down career. You got guys like Paris Campbell. List goes on in the NFL. Ted Ginn, Chris Carter. Ohio State's produced a lot of very good Santonio Holmes wide receivers. But I know there's a lot of colleges that have a conversation for wide receiver U. You can bring up Bama. You can bring up LSU. You can bring up Clemson. There's a lot of colleges that have a conversation for it. But here in the future, you really look at things. So you got Chris Olave. You got Garret Wilson, like I've already said. 10 and 11, back-to-back. Next year, Jackson Smith-Njigba, projected first-round pick already. Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out here in 2 years, I think it is. Then you got Emeka Egbuka, the number one receiver in that class. And then you got Julian Fleming, the number one receiver in his class. And then you got the possibility of Carnell Tate. You got the possibility of Brandon Ennis, two of the top receivers in their class. Even Jalen Ballard has an argument that could be made. A lot of talk been coming out of spring camp for him as a big-time receiver. Had a big improvement. We'll see what ultimately happens with that. But Brian Hartline is producing these guys. All right. In college, you've seen the crazy numbers they put up. The three Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, and Garret Wilson had an amazing year last year. And this is nothing against Jamison Williams, but I think it just speaks volume if you can have a receiver who was drafted in the top 15 transfer out and then have another guy come in behind him and already be a projected top 15 pick. He don't even have to play next year. That just speaks volume to Brian Hartline. I think ultimately both sides made the right decision. Jamison Williams made the right decision to go into Bama, and Ohio State made the best decision sticking with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, Chris Olave and Garret Wilson both said Jackson Smith-Njigba will go down as the best receiver between the three. I personally think that is very true. If Jackson Smith-Njigba can stay on any path that he did last year with the Rose Bowl, even Nebraska, he went for 200 yards. There's a strong possibility that dude could end up in New York next year. So he's a very good dark horse for the Heisman. But I want to get into talking about why they could be wide receiver U, okay? Let's talk about the recruiting pitch. Like I said, you got Garret Wilson, Chris Olave. You can even throw Jamison Williams. I know people who don't like Ohio State are going to be like, oh, he didn't go to Ohio State. Stop claiming him. He was at Ohio State. Brian Hartline recruited him. He's still good friends with everybody in that receiving room. All those coaches, they still got relationships. Whether you want to say it or not, Joe Burrow was a Buckeye. He graduated from Ohio State. I don't care what you fans say. They were there at one point. It's a little different if they were there, never seen the field, but Joe Burrow's seen the field. Joe Burrow graduated from Ohio State. Jamison Williams was the number 3 receiver on a team that went to the national championship. He caught a touchdown against Clemson, okay? So we're not going to act like he did nothing for Ohio State. He was a Buckeye at one point. Yes, he's from Bama. He went to Bama. What put him over the top to get him a first-round pick? salute to Bama, salute to Jamison Williams. It was a great decision for his career. That's why I think the transfer portal should stay around. There should be some rules to it, but that's just a perfect situation for both sides. Jackson Smith-Njigba can come up, Jamison Williams can come up. But you throw that recruiting pitch out there, and it just, Brian Hartline's already a great recruiter, already a great developer of receivers. Carnell Tate has been getting rumors to Tennessee, the other teams showing LSU, Georgia, whatever you want to say. I personally think he's a lock to Ohio State. Ohio State has been recruiting him for so long. And Brandon Ennis, another guy, the number one receiver in the class, has been leaning a little bit towards Ohio State. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's just amazing if you could go get those two receivers right there. You got Keon Grays, you got Caleb Burton, you got Caleb Brown. There's three receivers right there in the class after that. You also got Kojo Antwi, sorry. Couldn't remember out of the top of my mind. All in the class that's coming in as freshmen this year. So that's just amazing right there. One of those guys, at least one of those guys, will end up a first-round pick. I think Emeka Ibuka will end up a first-round pick, and I think Marvin Harrison will end up a first-round pick. Julian Fleming has the ability to do it. He's got the body size to do it. He's just got to stay healthy, put out the numbers. But Brian Hartline is, I hate to say it, but he's starting to deserve a higher role. He's starting to deserve maybe a head coaching spot. He's a great developer of talent. I think as long as he is the wide receiver coach at Ohio State, receivers are going to keep getting produced, and I think Ohio State will have a serious argument for wide receiver U because you look into the NFL in the future. So you got Garrett Wilson, I think he will produce. You got Chris Olave, I think he will produce. You already got Terry McLaurin. You got Michael Thomas, who's had one of the greatest single seasons in wide receiver history. You got Paris Campbell if he can stay healthy. I know Alabama, like I said, LSU, like I said, Clemson, they all have arguments. But Jackson Smith-Njigba ends up a first-round pick, let's say. He's not going to be no bum in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up a first-round pick, we'll say. He's not going to end up a bum in the NFL. The potential for Ohio State to become wide receiver U is a serious thing. Ultimately, we'll see in the future. But I just want to say, heck of a night for Buckeyes last night. I mean, Jamison Williams, like I said, he went to Bama, put him over the top. But at the end of the day, he was a Buckeye at one point. Congratulations to those three guys. Congratulations to all those guys that got drafted last night. We got another round coming up tonight. Might do some stuff on that here in the future. But with that being said, you guys leave a like on this video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And y'all